Hi guys, I hope you are doing well. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm kind of getting over a cold. I am doing a lot better than I was a week ago. Sounds like Dad has quite a bit of sap, and he says that I'm not going to be able to do everything he's collected in this first batch. So I think that's a challenge. Oh. Once I began flushing the preservative out of the RO, I realized I had a problem. The inline temperature gauge that I was so excited to use this year leaked in 3 different spots. After redoing all the Teflon tape, retightening, it was finally fixed. There's what's giving me the fits. I had a small leak there, and there. So I could tighten these 2 down just fine, and that one, but then I had a leak right here. And I think I spent about 45 minutes on this. Alright guys, I am winding down for the night, and what we got going on is this large tank right here. I am recirculating. So I have the intake and the concentrate line in the same tank. The permeate, so the water that's being removed, is right here, and we're going to dump that outside. I got my settings recorded, but for those who are curious, 5 400 gallon per bay membranes, 125 psi, about 15 to 15.5 gallons per hour of water is being dumped out there. And I'm going to head in and go to bed, let this go overnight, and if all goes well, this tank will be a bunch lower tomorrow. I just hope I can sleep and I'm not anxious thinking about this thing all night. Well, still got about a half hour before the sun comes up. Thought I'd get an early start. The good news is that the RO ran overnight exactly the way it was supposed to. I took off about 100 gallons of water while I slept, and that's a pretty nice head start, really. Plus you add that to the about 30 or so that we did last night as I set things up, and I'm in a good spot. Anyway, just gonna get the fire started now and switch over to feeding the RO into the preheater pan. Here, you guys can watch the fire while I get set up. I just got some lunch and loaded the fire. Right now there's about 75 gallons left in the big tank. All told, between garbage cans and buckets and everything, gone through about 250 gallons so far. The RO is running pretty good, but this year it's a little bit different. I don't know quite why yet, but it likes to run around 150 psi. I feel like in previous years we've been around that 135, 140, so I'm not sure if the membranes are getting old, or if that's just a product of the higher concentration on the sap. Because remember, overnight we took out about 100 gallons from the tank, making that a more concentrated sap to start with. So that might be making higher pressure on the membranes, and that could be why I'm seeing higher PSI. Other than that, I really like this guy right here. The temperature gauge has been real handy. I just like knowing the temperature of the sap, and right now around 52 degrees. It's just a quick little glance, because I know the sap is around 44. And that gives me a quick estimate over here of how much heat is getting pulled out of the heating coils on the stove. Anyway, over at the stove, something new this year is the little depth gauge, and when it's boiling, it gets pretty accurate, within a 1/4 inch pretty easily. You'll see it kind of sticks a little bit. Oh, there we go. That boil will free it up, and it ends up staying pretty stable though. It's not really bouncing around a lot. I did have one problem earlier, is the wood swelled a little bit when it got wet. If you put steam around wood, it will definitely expand, and it was sticking in the tube. So I ended up having to take a drill and drill out this tube a little bit bigger, and now it seems to be working pretty well. But yeah, it's a nice little addition. This video has chapters, so feel free to skip ahead if you don't want to watch, but I have a short little video on how I made the depth gauge. Welcome to my machine room. I have some videos if you really want to dive into what these are all about, but real quickly, this is a 1940 Monarch lathe. It is over 5,500 pounds, and it is incredibly precise. It's an amazing piece of machinery. It's got a VFD on it, and then over here, again, there's a VFD on this too. This is a bridge port. Now, I did some upgrades to this, added the DRO and tool tray and made it all pretty and cleaned up and painted. But both these machines came from my wife's grandpa's shop. So sadly, he's no longer with us, but I'm trying to carry on his legacy of machining. So in that spirit, let's pop a hole in this plate. All right, there we go. Nice little press fit, and then I kind of flared that a little bit so it can't pop out. Very nice. Just gonna break a few edges so it's not sharp. All right, so if we have the edge of the pan, say represented by this ruler, this is the part that I just made. And it should go onto the edge of the pan, clamp on there, pretty nice. And then this should act as a float. And I can make marks on there to tell where the level is in the pan. I don't know, I think this is gonna work pretty good. Okay, now I'm getting a little picky, but I just came back here and milled this little flat right here. That way I have a shoulder that will register up against the lip of the pan. Now this is getting really picky. This lip will keep that from kind of swiveling and pivoting, make it clamp on a little bit better. It's really overkill, but you know, that's kind of happens naturally when you have all these metalworking machines. So hey, I'm gonna do it because I can. I have it set up in the shop. I got a beaker with some water in it. It's clamped to a ruler to simulate the edge of the pan. So this would be the inside of the pan right here. And what's cool is if you can see how it bobs up and down. And if we add water, it's going to go up just like that and give a nice estimate of how deep it is. So all in all, things are going quite well. As I mentioned before, about 250 gallons in, and it'd be nice to make another 150, hit that 400 gallon mark. I believe if we take a look in the garage here, there is about 450 gallons collected for this session. And you can see a few extra garbage pails this year, I think 2 more. That'll end up being about another 60 gallons in addition to what we normally have. So that's kind of pushing it up over that 400 mark a little bit. But I would expect 2 pails worth to carry on to the next boil after this one is complete.
So it's a hair over 200. Okay, I put in 150 and 25 as 175, but these were filled to the top, so that could be 185 with 15 left would have been 200, so my numbers are right on.
So what was the grand total I started with?
470.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm just saying, I always go low, so I know, like, I counted these as 30, but I had them filled right to the top, so that could be an extra 10.
I did like 32.
Yeah.
Okay.
I counted as 30, so 5 times 30 is 150. But I figure after everything coming out, allowing for that 10 and 15 left, it's right on.
Nice. All right, I'm ready to go again, so I gotta switch.
Yeah, well, I'm ready too.
All right, that is all the sap that remains in the tank now. And we are producing a lot more water. The flow on here now is running about 26.5 gallons per hour, and I'm doubling the concentration. Also, take note, the pressures are way down, back down to 120. Temperature sitting right around 51, 52 degrees. And cool trick, by the way, is I can't reach in that tank to get a sample for the refractometer, but since the sap is coming in here, if I just pop this tab, I can get a little squirt right there and take a sample. So I can get a quick measure of the bricks coming from the tank. And then of course, getting a measure of the concentrate's a lot easier because it's just pumping out in the preheater pan. And you can see we have a pretty nice flow right here. Pushing out, I think we're close to about 12 gallons per hour right now on that. And our boil is looking very good. I'm running the pan a little deeper now, about 3 1/4 inches. This has been really handy, by the way. It's actually worked really well. I was a little worried it would stick or bob up and down or whatever, but it seems to be pretty stable and pretty reliable. So I'm really happy with how that's working. Also gives a nice visual without having to walk over. So I like that a lot. So yeah, cool addition. Really like it. Other than that, we are gonna keep cooking, grab a bite to eat, and yeah, keep on keeping on. just got the fire going over some numbers, and I found the defoamer this year. Anyway, it looks like we have 25 gallons in the pan, and that should end up being about 9 gallons when we're all done. We're getting close.
Are they all three of them on the wheeler or 4 of them?
No, William just took the wheeler by himself.
Charlotte and Deb are down there, and Felix was wandering the woods.
We want to make sure we didn't lose them all at once.
Yeah.
So.
Or you were making sure you did lose them all?
Here he comes. Oh, he's speeding up here. How fast he's
Is he
flying.
going to slow down and pretend to be responsible when he gets closer?
No,
He was not really going fast.
I said, just don't hit the stove.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Ooh, there we go. 53. So we're at 53 cold. We got to get to 66, 67. So we're getting pretty close.
I said 58.
That's hot bricks.
Oh.
Oops.
Uh-oh.
I broke it.
You shattered it?
No, I just put it underwater. Oh, still good.
Why would you do that?
That's why yours exploded in that bottle,
How much do
huh?
you
Oh,
usually
dear.
charge for maple syrup?
Once you got outside.
$15 for the biggest one.
All right.
Oh, it's...
Stop the cooking.
Is it time? Is that 50?
It is
You're
time,
You're
yes.
at 58?
Yep, we're at 58.
Okay.
14.
Wait,
Five. How much calories?
Rock
Well,
candy.
protein is. Here, wait.
Well, the calculations was 9.1 gallons when I measured this morning. So how much did we actually get?
Oh, I lost track already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and a half and 3/4.
9 3/4.
That's about 10 gallons
Almost
right here.
10?
Yeah, because this
Okay.
is half full, not
Yeah.
even, but it's about a quart. Yeah, almost exactly
So around
10 gallons.
Interesting.
How much?
10 gallons.
You have to throw a couple away. Match our fingers.
You're not throwing any of our juice away.
All I can figure is when I measured in the pan, I was measuring along the edge, and because it's a pan, it bows in the middle.
Yeah, probably.
So that bow was probably an extra, threw off my measurements.
There you go.
Because I figured
Yeah,
it would be
but
just over 9.
normally we're over. Your measurement is normally over.
I know, but I took a
calculation.
measure this morning when it was all
Oh,
cold
yeah,
from
so
the
it's-
sap in the pan. So it wasn't actually like a beforehand.
Right.
But yeah, I'll go check the numbers and see how it turns out though. Here's a summary of the first batch this year. And frankly, the numbers don't tell the whole story. By running the RO overnight, we removed almost 260 of the 370 gallons using just the RO. This meant that the average concentration produced from the RO when it was put into the preheat pan was 3.3 times what came out of the tree. Normally, that's about 2.5 times as concentrated as the sap that comes out of the tree. Something I can't quite explain, though, is the poor boil rate. Usually that's up around 8 or 9, and this time it was in the 6s, which is quite bad. I think the poor boil rate is because I allowed coals to build up in the firebox, and I wasn't optimizing the flame. Also, I ran the boil pan about 3 to 4 inches, and usually I try to keep it around 2. But all in all, 10 gallons for a batch is quite good. All right, let's get set and get going on batch number 2. Ooh, it's nice out. All right, let's go. All right, welcome back. We are setting up right now for batch number 2. What's going on right now? I got here, set up the RO, immediately started pushing sap into here. The sap in the tank is 2.4. Right now I'm putting concentrate in at 3.5 bricks, so I'm upping it just a little bit. But the nice thing is I'm running like 25 gallons an hour, so the pan's gonna get to depth real quick here. In fact, I bet there's enough to start a fire right now. I'm just gonna get my little depth gauge set up. It's a lot easier to do when it's not boiling. It's actually rather uncomfortable to put your hands above boiling water, believe it or not. We're coming up on half an inch, so I can probably get that fire started soon, because once it's at an inch, it's fine to start boiling, especially when it's not that concentrated. Or the firewood magically replenished itself. That's one of the things I love about the off-grid cabin. The firewood splits and piles itself for you daily. I got my command center right here. I've shown this before, but this is just my quick references. I love this thing, makes everything so easy. I got a page that shows the RO flow. So that's what that little beaker I'll run around with, measure out 500 mils. I got a table that converts seconds to fill that to gallons per hour. I have stuff about the preheater. I got charts for the depth and the evaporator pans, how many gallons that is. Handy little chart for bricks. The shutdown procedure for the RO, how to put it away for the season, how to start it up for the season. And then just one last little quick reference at the end there. But anyway, my little command station. I'm also logging my data in the iPad, refractometers. I also have the hydrometers and some other stuff in there. The RO pulling out of the tank. We got the fan set up again. This is a DC fan, 12 volt, and I have a motor speed controller on here and a 110 volt converter. So I can vary the speed of that. You'll see me do that to dial in that boil just perfectly. And look at that, we're at 1 inch, so it's time to start up. So let's get going. And now it's time to set up the RO to run a little less aggressively. So I'm gonna go dial in the flow that I need right now, and that's what I'll run for the rest of the night at that rate. Ah, sun. So nice getting here when it's light out. Whew. Oh, anyway, nothing earth-shattering happening. We are at 1.5 inch in the main tank right here. Preheater pan is filling up. Got a nice little 10 gallon per hour flow going. Yeah, and check it out. I already took out 5 gallons of water and I haven't even started boiling yet. So right now the boil is hauling, averaging about 10 to 11 gallons per hour with the boil. And the key here is keeping it at the right depth. The depth right now is between 1.75 inches and 2 inches. That seems to be a super happy place, and that fire is just super hot. In fact, check out the door. When I load it, let's see if I can, uh-oh, it warped. There we go. Oh man, hot, hot, hot. I will burn down so there's very little coals, and then I'll load it all the way back up with wood. And the trick then is to use the variable speed on there, crank it to max for about 5-10 minutes, and that gets everything lit. And then right now I'm dialed down to like 3/4 or half power for the fan, and that is giving a super even boil. If I crank it to max right now, you'll get a boil on the front half of the pan here. That'll just be like almost splashy, and not so much on the back. But once that wood is lit, cut back on the blower, and I seem to be able to modulate that boil super nicely. And yeah, I'm using almost all the pan right now for that boil. And then quick little update, that little depth gauge is working real nice. And if you look at it, it's in there, it's not really dancing at all. That thing is proving super useful. And here we are, about 100 gallons in, coming up on 10:30. I will see you in the morning. All right, time for a check-in. It is right around 4:30 p.m. on a Friday, and things have been going really, really well. The large tank right here, the 275 gallon tank, is now completely empty. Rinsed it a little bit, and now we are on to the bins. So this one is water, the other 4 are sap. In total, about 132 gallons of sap. And as you can see, you're already making good progress on that first one. Now let's go outside, take a look. Of course, that RO is running like a champ, and it is nice and toasty. 55 degrees. Pressures look good, 135. And we are pumping out a bunch of water. Just some pails I'm rinsing out. Guess I can switch to another one. We're making a lot of water right now. All in all, there is about 26 and a half gallons of water going through the RO. It is running optimally. At the evaporator, this thing has been going great. You can see there's a few bubbles, not too bad. I've been adding a few drops every now and then of this defoamer, and that just kind of helps that boil go a little bit better. And it's kind of like an insurance policy. If I turn my back and walk away and I don't have defoamer in there and it gets kind of low, there's a possibility that it could foam and boil over. And it's really easy to lose about a gallon of syrup in a matter of minutes that way, especially as the sap in the pan gets more and more concentrated. Other than that, my wood supplies, I've made quite a bit of progress. Looks like when this is used up, we'll be at about 7/8 of a face cord, which is great because we're on track for to go through about 400 gallons of sap. Kind of hard to see, but I have a line that is 1 inch, so it's red if it's lower than that. Right now we're sitting right at 2 inches. If we go higher, that would be 3 inches. So I have 3 lines. There's some hash marks too in between, and I just kind of shoot for that 2 inch mark. Other than that, Sarah is going to be here in a bit. She just needs to stop by and get some fish fry to go. And then in a little bit, everyone will be fed and happy. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting near the end of the boil tonight. About 20 gallons to go, so maybe about an hour left. And something strange happened. The output dropped. So where I was running 26 gallons per hour, it dropped down to about 17 gallons per hour, which generally makes you think, okay, I need to flush the membranes. But what was interesting, the pressure went down. It's good now, but it was down to 100 PSI. It should be running between 130 and 140. So on the intake, you can see that little guy right there. That is a fine mesh pre-filter. And what happened is that a bunch of gunk clogged up that wire mesh. And because it clogged it up, it was restricting the flow. And with that flow restricted, pressure drops, output drops, and yeah, everything slows down. I've never had that happen before, but now I know to look for it. Now I know to watch carefully, and if the pressure goes down and the flow goes down, I gotta clean the intake. As that beautiful sunny day gave way to a brief snowstorm, I reached the end of the boil. 400 gallons of sap had been processed and put in the pan, and I decided to close up for the night. Good morning. I just started setting up. About 17 and a half gallons in the pan. I think we're gonna bring it down, and the estimate is 8.5 gallons of finished syrup. We'll see how that ends up. It's 11 degrees? No, it's 17 now. It's getting warm.
Maybe.
I love
Super
frostbite
toasty.
and getting burned. Anyway, we're doing a little different filter thing here. What is this, a cone? Some kind of cone clipped on the pipe. Our other stuff clogged and we ran out of our little cheesecloth, terry cloth thingies, whatever they are. And yeah, Ow, my hands are hurting holding the phone. I gotta finish. Oh, ow.
Yeah, let's put some jugs now.
Well, there wasn't a whole lot of action footage from the last batch. We kind of got caught up in a conversation, and the next thing you know, it was at 58 bricks and we ran around, and yeah, here we are. But anyway, this batch, batch 2 is 10 gallons. And when you add that to our first batch, that means the total for the season is 20 gallons, which I believe is a new record for us. And yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and all the sap was collected within the last like 5 days too, right? It was fast.
Yeah, it was quick. We had almost 240 gallons of sap at the time when the first boil was finished. So kind of a quick season for us.
Yeah.
And
There's still a week of March left too.
I don't know if you can tell, but it was 11 degrees Fahrenheit when I started the fire this morning. And I believe now we're finally up to a
16.
Yeah, a less horrible 16 degrees Fahrenheit.
The sun feels nice.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for watching. And till next time. My hands are cold. I don't want to turn it off. Well, Grandpa said he got a new mouse trap, and it's by the dartboard. Well, might be a bit much. Well, I guess if Dad ever says, watch your step by the gate, that carries a bit more weight now. Anyway, aside from cameras that are active all the time, apparently we have some security upgrades. Watch out for the mouse trap.